Mm.
Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Deep Chanda with us. A brief introduction of Deep. He has done his bachelor's in zoology honors from North Bengal University and then master's in zoology from Vishwa Bharati Shanti Niketan in West Bengal. He did his PhD in biotechnology from National Institute of Technology in Durgapur, and then currently Dr. Deep is a postdoctoral researcher at Umeå University, Sweden. With this brief introduction, I would like to say thank you so much, Deep, for taking time out for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me in Empowering Science Foundation. And I'm really pleased that you have selected me for this interview. Yeah,
Thank you.
let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. We always start
Yeah,
all of our these conversations
yeah.
by asking a same question that how and when you decided that you want to become a researcher.
Well, so since childhood, I was not very good at other subjects. So I was mainly good at mathematics and science. So I decided that yes, like this is the field I want to be in. So I like I used to like think a lot about this scientific stuffs and science fictions and all. So since my childhood I had this thought that someday I'll be a scientist. But after my masters, the trajectory uh, deviated a bit because I realized that to be in science in India, it's better to get a own fellowship. So which I didn't have uh, when I completed my masters. So there was a that's why I had a gap after my like I had a almost 4 years gap after my masters. So during that time frame, I qualified CSR Net JRF. So then again, I pursued my dream from which started from NIT Durgapur.
So before joining NIT Durgapur, you took your own sweet time when you knew like this is one of the important parts whenever we talk about fellowships, especially when you're studying in India,
Yes,
having that funding is very important part.
yes,
So let's take this moment to discuss that when you were sure, like as you mentioned in your school days, you were like maths and science were your strengths. They were your strengths, and this is something you want to pursue. But after the completion of
mm,
masters, when you realize that you do not have your own funding, you took a detour, took that break, and until unless you secured your fellowship by yourself, you
yeah,
also did your B.Ed in during that time.
yeah,
So, what would you like to share before committing to PhD? All the thoughts which have been gone, you have been gone through. Okay, that what all it takes, and when you realize that okay, now I'm ready for taking upon this challenge.
yeah. So first of all, being from I will say poor family, it's more challenging to pursue science. And like during that time, actually, there is family always ask to like contribute financially. So that's so during that period of time, so many things comes to your mind, like whether I have to land into a job, especially in middle class or poor family. Like family always ask for in Indian contexts like government job. So during that time all those things used to coming into my mind, like whether I really uh, pursue science. So but during that time only I figured it out that if I want to be in science and also if I want to contribute to the family, then only way is to crack the JRF. So that is why I mean I uh, gave my full effort behind CSR net. uh, and like after like 6 months of preparations, I cracked it. But I will say it was really a difficult time. It was really difficult time. I mean, a lot of times uh, I thought that maybe I should stop pursuing it, or let's go with what my family wants. So, but at last, uh, in 2017 June, CSR net, it went really well, and I ranked 64 all India. So that time I was like confirmed, like, yeah, now I can pursue my dream. Yeah.
So I think this is a like lesson for all of our audience that once you are passionate about something, having consider all the responsibilities, either it is family responsibility, financial responsibility, and what all, is so important that you always try to carve your own path, as Deep
Mm.
has done, that he want to pursue the science, the PhD, but without compromising his financial responsibilities towards the family, which is very important. So, when you had this fellowship in your hand,
Yeah.
how you started looking at the organizations where you really wanted to do your PhD?
Yeah, I'll say that that's one of the most important, and also the difficult most part, because it's the start, and selecting the field of research and PI is, uh, I mean, is the most crucial part, because like sometimes even if your field of choice matches, sometimes you will find that the PI is not that supportive, uh, and vice versa. Sometimes the PI may be supportive, but the field doesn't match. So during that time frame, I actually took a long gap to decide where, in which lab I have to land in. So I looked for all, not all, I'll say several CSIR institutes like CSIR CDRI and uh, CSIR NIST, Northeastern Institute of Science and Technology in Assam, Jorhat, and also CSIR IICB in Kolkata. So I have explored some labs, but finally I landed in like sometimes my field of choice is to match, but sometimes I was also selected in IIT Guwahati, but for some reason I didn't get a very good review of the PI from the students. So which is I will say, for the audience, I will say, before landing into a lab, you should always take review of the supervisor from the lab members itself, so that you don't have to regret after joining. So, but however, at last I landed in NIT Durgapur in Dr. Debojyoti De's lab. But interestingly, that lab didn't have any history because he was a very new professor. He joined 6 months before my joining. So it was interesting because the logic was a bit different there. He had a extensive experience from foreign countries, and he had several patents, so his CV was really attractive for me. And also when I directly met him and talked to him and discussed about my aim, uh, and what I want to do next. So I really got some good vibe from him. So that's why I finally landed him in a new lab, completely new lab. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is some of the things, like as you mentioned, we always counter these researcher celebrity conversations about like how tricky it can be when you are picking up a new PI who's just establishing or starting their lab. But then
Yeah.
this challenge can be an opportunity that if you have a clear mindset that what you really want to do with your PhD, this is a great time because now
Mm.
you are part of that process, how a PI established their own lab.
Yeah.
What is the
Yes. Yes.
procedure it all takes?
Yes.
That is a very good part. And also, I would
Yeah.
like to say to all the audience that having this peer review of like the statements, the comments, the suggestions, and the experiences of the active students or their alumni of that lab which you are focusing, that if the PI is already established, then having their experience shared with you also will
Yeah.
be helpful. As Deep mentioned, that if you do not receive very supportive, or the experiences of the students are not good with that supervisor, probably that is not going to work the same for you also. But
Yeah.
it is like always we say that neither one student is compatible with all the supervisors, nor
Yeah.
all the supervisors are compatible with
Yeah.
all the. So you have to have
Right.
that vibe. As Deep mentioned that he got that vibe when he was talking to his PI. So
Yeah.
let's say, what was the experience after joining the lab, that when
Yeah.
you already had, you felt like, okay, this is the lab for me, you joined the lab.
Mm.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the journey now. How did that go?
First of all, it was really challenging because I was the first, and initially for 1 year, I was the only member. Although I had master students in our lab, but I was the only PhD. So all of the responsibilities like developing all the pipeline, because although my professor is, that's another part of my journey. Like my professor is from stem cell biology, but once he joined, he decided to change his field as well, that he wanted to do some computational stuffs in metagenomics. So that's another part of the challenge, because he knows the and again, I also didn't have any computational background. So neither my supervisor had computational background nor me. So it's all about the learning process. So I will say it was really challenging, and the whole pipeline I myself had to learn and develop from the scratch. I didn't even uh, used to code, or like I didn't have any experience in working with command line. So I learned it myself from the scratch. But the plus was that my supervisor was really very supportive from uh, from whatever, like although he's not from the computational background, but he used to support me from, like, I'll say, all the possible ways. Yeah. So it was challenging, it was fun, and I'll say lots of ups and down. Yeah.
All the PhDs are roller coaster rides anyways. But
Yeah.
I would like to ask one thing which is coming up more often these days, and this is not only limited to India but to global research community, where the
Hmm.
PhD students give up either midway or even after doing 3 or 4 5 years of research work. They gi- give away their things because of n number of reasons. But have you ever felt to quit after all these challenges because you already had this thought?
No, no, never. Never, for I'll say two reasons. My elder brother is also a PhD in mathematics from the same institute. He's currently a professor in one of the finest private university in India. So I used to see that how a PhD journey is like it's not cakewalk. So I had that mindset from the very beginning, and this is number one. And number two is my supervisor. He's so supportive, and I'll say like every time I was like confused, I'm blank, now what to do, I'm stuck. I used to find him all the time with me. Like no matter what happens, like he was open to help me anytime.
So having
Like
these
12 a.m., 1 a.m. I used to like call him and he's ready to take the call.
nice. So
Yeah.
having these 2 points, like a that everyone should be prepared that PhD is not a cakewalk. It is a ride, roller coaster one. So there will be ups and
Yeah.
downs, first thing. And then, second, having this supportive supervisor where your mentor is ready to give you time, attention, whatever it takes, so that you can troubleshoot and overcome all the challenges. These were the two
Yeah.
important pillars of Deep's PhD journey. And that's why you never
Yeah.
thought that you really want to quit.
Yeah, I never thought. I never thought. Like,
That's
and my professor was very, like he used to inspire a lot, and like he used to keep me like my journey. He used to keep my journey alive by the dream of science. Like he used to associate, like, yes, you are associated, you have associated yourself with a bigger cause. So no matter ups and downs will come, but you should not give up.
absolutely. And having also considering this point that when your PI is specialized in another field, like stem
Yeah.
cells, as you mentioned, and then he was shifting the gears towards the computational and the metagenomics part, this is another point which we try to discuss in these conversations, that scientist is not specialized in one thing. It is the skill set which you have. So one skill set can be used in multiple disciplines, and this is the best time to do interdisciplinary science. When a person from space agency is talking to a zoologist, to a physicist, to a chemist, everyone is coming together, and this is how you bring and improve the impact of your current research and future research. So based on this,
Yes.
Deep, if I will ask that when you started, like as you mentioned that you developed all those pipelines from scratch, how that helped, this training of PhD helped you in securing your postdoctoral position?
Yeah. First of all, I'll say that when you do not know something and you have that courage and you have that willpower to learn that, I will say that if you have that willpower, you will learn more than what you need actually. So in my case, I learned it from the very basic, like from installing an operating system to installing any software package, coding, everything. And I'll say that the community, the researcher community nowadays, is because during that time we didn't have chat gpt and other ai. So now it has become much easier to code and all, but during that time I will say there are several researcher communities or um, it communities out there like stack overflows, biostars, and art studio forums. So I used to post a lot of questions there. I used to directly communicate with the developers of the tools and techniques. I used to directly mail them, like shamelessly. I used to bombard their um, mail. Like my professor used to make fun, like they will now come and beat you, like the way you are disturbing. But I was like, no, because I don't know, I have to learn, and I want my job get done. So that willpower should be there, and that actually made me, I'll say, I'll say uh, like a good candidate for the postdoc, like because I specialized in metagenomics, and with the uh, I mean, during the period of my PhD, I learned how to deal with big data, how to deal with patient data, and now I am working in clinical microbiology department, and that actually resonated. uh, the Currently I'm working in Dibedi lab, um, who also who is also working in metagenomics. So her field of research and my field of research, my skill set actually resonated with uh, his area of research. So that is another interesting story. Like I I didn't applied for a lot of positions during my for the postdoc. I hardly applied for 4 or 5 positions, and I got hired, because that's what I'm saying. Like when you learn something from scratch, you don't know that how much you have learned. Maybe you have learned more than what is required.
Mhm.
So I found that yes, what is required for that lab, I have most of the skills. So I easily got hired by that lab.
I think this is very important that whenever you are about to complete your PhD, having that
Mhm.
what is your skill set and in your prospective research groups wherever you want to go and join, you have to see that perfect alignment of the skill set instead of the field. As Deep has
Yes.
done, you should always focus on the skill sets what are required. And sometimes, if you see that currently you do not have that, PhD is the good time to gain those skill sets if you already have something in mind that what will be your next move. So,
Yeah.
Deep, when you were submitting your PhD thesis,
Mhm.
was this time when you started your applying for your postdoc? Because as you mentioned, you only did 5 applications
Mhm.
and you are
Mhm.
already working in Sweden now. So,
Mhm.
when you started your applications,
No, I think I have applied 1 or 2 during my after my thesis submission. Yeah, right. After my thesis submission only, I applied those 4 and 5. Mm, and I defended my thesis on 23rd of January, and I had my interview at the in February.
Mhm.
This interview from Umeå University in February. So yeah, like I a couple of positions I applied after thesis submission, and a couple of after defending my thesis. So
Okay.
because after submission of my thesis also, I was pretty busy, because I was working, I had um, uh, some work, still some work is going on with my PhD professor. So I was busy with those work also, so I also could not get enough time to apply for.
Okay. And but once you have an offer, then you don't even have to apply for it. So that is another thing. So now when you are at Umeå University,
Mhm.
what do you think that you are gaining a new skill set or a different one to establish yourself as an independent fellow in future after your postdoc?
Yeah, so first of all, working with international fellows enriches you a lot. So your communication skills get better. Number one. Number two is, currently I am working with clinical data. clinical data, patient data. So I'm also working with some what is called clinicians, doctors at international level. One doctor is from US and another from Gothenburg University, Sweden. So again, like it's a I'm learning to work like here in India. I had my only one boss, my PI, and I used to analyze like public data set. But now I am handling clinical data, patient data, and also dealing with like clinicians. So, so I'll say my knowledge is enriching, and from the skill set point of view, I'll say not very different. Whatever I have learned here, I'm using that only, but I will say this collaborative environment and all is really helping me out a lot. Uh, so I think
Absolutely.
that will, yeah, yeah,
Speaking
that
of
will
the
help
role
me.
of collaborations, because when
Yes,
you are establishing your lab,
yeah,
having this experience of initiating or working with collaborators
hmm,
across the globe also
hmm,
helps you. And as you mentioned, it
yeah,
gives you that extra training and maturity that whenever you are dealing with, because there are different type of barriers in there, either it is cultural, it is time different, and so many different
yeah,
things which you have to consider
yeah.
whenever you are even
Mhm.
proposing a meeting time. So yeah, yeah. You were saying something, Deep.
Yeah, no, that is what, like so many things, like when you are not, you have not yourself handled clinical data sets, which is very different from using public data sets. That is, I am learning from my present PI, and he's also like managing a lot of his own cohorts. So that is another thing to learn from him, like bringing cohort to your own lab, because so many scientists are there for one, fighting for one cohort, and you are trying, you are selling yourself, you are advertising yourself, like, look, we have this team, we have the skill sets, and we are the best to deal with to analyze this cohort, these data sets, we are the best. So these things, I mean, I will say, like in today's field, like you also have to package, and you also have to sell yourself, uh, so that you can get more cohorts and data sets to deal with, and get pattern out of it. So that is something I'll say I'm learning from him. Yeah, that's that. And I'm sure that in future, if I open my own lab, that will really help me a lot.
Absolutely. And speaking of selling, because this is often said in these conversations that when it comes to scientists or researchers, it is like either publish or perish. So, what were your experiences until now, and what you can share with the audience?
I'll say that is pretty true. That is pretty true. And I mean, we can't do anything about this. Like, you have to publish, because in this field, how people will evaluate you, like if you don't publish, how people will evaluate you? You have to publish. But but having said that, that should not compromise the quality of research, and also the quality of the mental and physical health of the researchers as well. So yeah, so
You just stepped on to my next point, which we discussed this. Now,
yeah,
probably we are talking, or at least started acknowledging the mental being, the
yeah.
well-being of researchers more than ever in history.
Mhm.
Based on your experiences, what are the important factors researchers are at any stage, like you have experienced till postdoc, either a
Mhm.
PhD student or a postdoc, how they should maintain this sanity without going crazy in their research, as a human when they are not doing research in their labs?
I will say that in India during PhD, I'll say it's very difficult to manage, and that's where the role of PI comes. Like when, as I said, like my PI was very supportive, so that's why I started with that thing that you have to always very choosy before selecting your PI, because if he or she is not very supportive, that at any point of time you can get crazy. And regarding postdoc, I will say that during postdoc, especially in Europe, they really take care of the mental health a lot. I don't know about, I'm not very sure about US, but in Europe they really take care about like 8 hours of work and activities outside work, at least 30 days of vacation in an year, and the weekends they will not disturb you. So these things are maintained properly in Europe. So like you should have something like I know that most of the people who are in PhD or postdoc, most of them are driven by their passion. But I will say do something. I mean, don't make this your life. Like you should have something, either your family or some activities or whatever friends should be there. uh, so don't make it life. It's I mean, deal with of course I know it's passion. Like sometimes I will say that 8 hours of work is not enough during PhD, that I can understand. But you always have to understand that where to stop, where to divert your mindset for at least a shorter period of time doing something else. So you have to understand that.
Absolutely. And acknowledging burnouts is very important. And
Hmm.
somehow, what we have been seeing that either because of lack of awareness of burnouts or because of the supervisor pressure from the supervisor, the researchers do not acknowledge it enough that when actually they should take a break, when they are already
Hmm.
burned out, and no matter after reaching that stage, whatever the amount of time you spend in lab or on computer, whatever you are doing, probably it is not going to help you at that point
Yeah,
of
of course.
time. As Deep mentioned, what you need is that break. Go rejuvenate yourself and then come back again, and that works all. Have how
Yeah.
what were your experiences with the burnout, Deep, if you can share?
Yes, during the PhD, and as I said, being the first member of the lab, uh, I'll say that it's more difficult. Like I used to work a lot. I didn't complain, but that's I used to do that driven by my passion. Like I didn't have any work hour per se. Like that was not like imposed by my PI. He didn't used to like disturb me during the weekend. I used to have proper weekend. But when I felt that uh, I have to put extra hours, I used to do that. And when I need break, I used to discuss that with my PI, and he was very open, and he used to give me enough break to recharge me. And this is very important, because after the burnout, no matter how much time you spend, that is not going to be productive. So that doesn't make any sense. uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So having these support systems during your burnouts, like either family, friends, or the activities you do, how did they help you rejuvenate?
To be honest, I'll say I'm not very extrovert. I'm very introvert. Whatever I used to get burnout, but I used to keep it within myself. I'm not very open about all these things. I used to work on myself, and I used to myself get out of that. So I didn't used to discuss this with my family or friends. And as most of my friends are not from the science background, they are not also very aware of this fact. So I know that it is not going to help if I share that. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, everyone
So
has
I
their own way. Yes, agree
yeah.
exactly. So every researcher has their different personality and their different ways to come out of those burnouts. But acknowledging
Mm.
them is very important. And now, at the edge of the conversation, I would like to ask Deep that after your postdoc, how do you see yourself moving, going, and based on your experience till now, what you can suggest, or so as we say, word of wisdom to our audience here.
Uh, uh, Regarding the first question, I will say that it has only been 8 months. I am working as a postdoc fellow, so my contract here is for 2 years, and I don't know whether I will be extending this. That will depend upon like how many papers, and of course what is the quality of paper I am producing there. So so yes, of course I have the dream to come back to India and get a faculty positions in some of the reputed institute or universities, and that's another dream, next part of my dream, let's say. And regarding the next question, I will say that for who are aspiring for the PhD position, I'll say it's always good to have your own fellowship. As I started the conversation, like you have to support your family, and also like all of the most of the uh, fellowships like CSIR, ICMR, DPT, they're very prestigious. That adds um, another layer in your CV, some weightage on your CV. So I'll say work on that. And if you want to get a PhD from foreign universities or foreign institutes, that's also okay, because a lot of opportunities are there, and you will get more resources there to work on. And for the postdocs, there are several opportunities now opening in India. You can try, but along with that, you can also explore the international positions as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think having that clarity that what are your priorities and then building all these blocks accordingly so that this roadmap can take you to your destination. With this, we'll say to all the audience that if you want to write to Deep, you can write directly to him. If you want STEM for Society to put you in touch with our researcher celebrities, we are there to help you, to support you by all the means what we can. Having this mentor mentee program also, STEM for Society is going to start soon. The only thing what we want from our audiences is, if research is what keeps you awake, if research is your passion, we are there to help you. And with this, we'll say thank you so much, Deep, for taking time out
Yeah.
and sharing your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raja. And I'll say for the audience, you can reach out to me anytime. And you can, for any queries, PhD, postdoc, research related, whatever, I am there to help you. Just send me a mail. I'm there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Deep. And to all the audience, we'll say stay tuned for another episode of Researchers Celebrity.